A lot of people think a concussion or traumatic brain injury is a single event. You get hit, you rest, and your brain heals. But biologically, that's not how TBI works. In many cases, the damage doesn't stop when the impact stops. The injury unfolds over hours, days, and sometimes even months. And that's why symptoms can worsen over time. Today, I want to walk you through what's actually happening inside the brain after a traumatic brain injury and why timing matters so much. So when neuroscientists talk about TBI, we separate it into two phases, the primary injury and the secondary injury. So the primary injury, this is the moment of impact. So this can be the hit, fall, collision. This is the mechanical force applied to the brain. So this can cause direct tissue damage, stretching or shearing of nerve fibers, bruising or bleeding, and that part happens immediately. And here's the part that most people don't realize is the primary injury itself sets off a cascade of secondary injuries. So you can think of it like an earthquake, where the earthquake itself is devastating, but the aftershocks can cause just as much damage, if not more. So secondary injury processes include inflammation, reduced blood flow, chemical imbalances, and cellular stress that continues to injure neurons long after the initial trauma. And in many cases, secondary injury is what drives the long-term symptoms. So one of the biggest players in secondary brain injury is inflammation. So inflammation isn't automatically bad. In fact, your brain does need it. But after an injury, immune cells in the brain become activated. And this clears debris, removes damaged cells, and can help initiate repair. And that early inflammatory response is protective, but here's where things can go wrong. If inflammation doesn't shut off at the right time, it can become chronic. And chronic brain inflammation, this damages healthy neurons, disrupts communication between brain cells, and increases the permeability of the blood-brain barrier. So instead of helping the brain heal, the immune response starts to fuel this ongoing injury. So this is one reason why two people can have very similar injuries, but different recoveries. So this biology explains something many patients experience, but don't expect. So someone might feel okay at first, and then days or weeks later, the symptoms worsen. And this can include cognitive fog, headaches, mood changes, fatigue, and, sometimes there's difficulty concentrating. So this doesn't mean that the injury was imagined, and it definitely doesn't mean that the injury was mild. It means the secondary injury processes are still unfolding. So ongoing inflammation, swelling, and energy disruption in the brain can slowly compound this damage, especially if the system doesn't properly reset. And individual factors obviously matter too. So these would consist of prior brain injuries, overall health, genetics, and even a person's sleep and stress levels. So all of these influence how the brain responds after trauma. So in my next video, I'm going to zoom in on one special immune pathway that plays a major role in this process, which is known as the complement system. So this is a system that's designed to help clean up injury. But in the brain, if it's activated at the wrong time or for too long, it can actually worsen the damage. So understanding these immune pathways is one of the most promising areas of research for improving recovery after TBI. So the big takeaway here is this: traumatic brain injury is not a single moment, it's a biological process. So what happens after the injury often matters just as much as the impact itself. So if you found this very helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps this channel grow. And if you want deeper dives into brain injury, inflammation, and recovery, let me know what you'd like to see in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.